Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of Seeking Profit. My name is Emil, that guy over there is Andrew, and we are very glad you guys joined us for another episode. Andrew, I saw something over the weekend on Twitter that I wanted to ask you about. I think Jackie Chow posted it. What up, Jackie? Shout out, Jackie. He went on vacation. I think he was in like Vietnam or something, and he was like, didn't have any internet reception. He's like, I couldn't work for 3 days and I hated it. And I thought it was funny because a lot of people, usually they unplug and they're like, oh, it was so nice. I feel so much better. And I kind of understood. I was like, man, when I completely disconnect, my anxiety just runs like rampant. I just think about all the things I'm coming back to. First, if I can just check in for 30 minutes a day, I feel so much better. I'm curious, how do you feel when you go on vacation and stuff?
I love the airplane ride. Even without internet, but I'll have my computer, I'll be like writing notes. It's like all of a sudden I'm like figuring everything out because I'm stuck in a small space without internet. But then once we land, I need to know what happened. And there was brief moments I was disconnected, like the world changed. Is everything still there? I'd probably rather disembark the plane naked than without internet.
Dude, I think we have a sick disease at this point.
Sickness be gone!
I need to know what happened in email, or I sent somebody something and I feel like it's urgent and it's clearly not that urgent. It could wait a couple days, but do we have a problem? I think a lot of people have this problem.
Oh yeah. Dude, if I didn't get spam mail, I'm like, is my email still on? Am I receiving things?
Yeah. Sometimes if I don't get an email for 12 hours, I'm like, is my internet working? Is my spam folder, is everyone going in spam? Dude, it's not good. Anyway, today we're talking about something I think a lot of people kind of grapple with. I hear both sides of the argument. We're going to just share our opinions and what we've done. And it's focusing on one site versus multiple. Basically, do you have a portfolio approach, or should you really just put all your eggs in one basket and focus on growing that? You started Listen Money Matters. We know you have a couple sites, but how long did you work on Listen Money Matters exclusively before you started? I think Giftlab was the next one, right?
Yeah, it was, we were supposed to have it monetized in 2 years. It definitely took at least 3 years before it was decently monetized. I think Giftlab started 4 or 5, actually probably closer to 5 years in. I was home. I had quit my job and I was doing Listen Money Matters. And then me being around, I was able to help cross-pollinate Laura's idea of Giftlab. It would have been impossible to do when I had my day job because I feel like I had barely time for Listen Money Matters.
And so what was, give us some stats. What was Listen Money Matters doing before you guys decided to focus on another site?
Yeah. So when I quit my job, it was doing about 250-ish a year. But it was trending up strongly. Huh?
In revenue?
In revenue.
Okay.
It's funny. I always think revenue, but as Twitter, rightfully points out, that's not, the thing is with a content site, and I'm a generally frugal guy, it's all margin, right? It's
right.
How much are you going to pay your writers? You're going to overpay your writers. You're making 20 a month. There's not much you could put it into.
Right.
So yeah, we were doing 20 a month, and if I was to guess, I don't remember exactly, but I think we're probably at 200-ish thousand page views a month.
Okay. And
probably about maybe 300,000, 250 on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say only 200,000 page views, probably harder to bring in 20K a month, but because you guys had the podcast, you're doing sponsorships and all these other things that are bringing in that 20K.
Sponsorships are always minimal, and we actually never ran display ads, to my, disappointment in myself.
Yeah, especially on those articles about fun things to do on a Friday night and perfect for display ads.
Oh my God. How long were you working on your first site before you let it marinate?
Yeah, so my history, I started a site in May of 2021, first site, brand new domain. I'd been following, I think I took John I forget his last name's hard to pronounce, John D. Fat Stacks blog, and seeing some people on Twitter just talking about like content sites and display ads. I always thought just AdSense and you earn nothing on those. And people are talking about these premium ad networks where you're getting $30, $40, $50 RPMs. And I'm like, okay, so there's actually like, it's improved since I kind of last checked in on display ads. So, started my site. It was May 2021. I think I worked on it for like 4 or 5 months. And, I spent like $5K. I kind of gave myself a $5K budget arbitrarily. I was like, all right, this is, I don't know. I just felt like that was a good round number to start things with. And I was like, all right, we'll pay for content. We'll buy some links and just sit on it and see what it does. Like, what can 40, 50 articles on a site do? During that time, I had a buddy who owned this other site. He had started it like 5 years ago, and it was doing like it's a sports site, seasonal. And during season, it does like 40, 50, sometimes even 60,000 page views, and it literally hadn't been touched in like 4 or 5 years. And my buddy was just selling courses on it, right? Like making $150 a month. And
wow.
I just like, yeah, it was like doing nothing. And I just knew, I'm like, man, this site with 14 articles is doing 40, 50, 60,000 page views. Like, I feel like this is amazing niche to get into. And so we had some back and forth. My buddy wanted like 40 grand for the site or something. And I was like, dude, it makes 150 a month. Like, that's a crazy multiple. I don't know the math, but like some ridiculous multiple on it. And we just came up like with a different split. So I didn't pay him anything for it. I got 80% of it, and he kept 20% of like future cash flow and the exit.
Wow. Your buddy's like a negotiation Casanova or something. You just gave away 80% for nothing. 40,000? No? Okay. How about free?
I think it's like him and I work together. He knows like my ability to do SEO, and he had a site that's just sitting there doing nothing. Like, it's paying him $150 a month. You know what I mean? Like, maybe someone else would come and buy it for tops 10, 15K, like tops.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think he'd gotten a couple offers for like that amount, which is like not that interesting, for most, he has got a business doing well. It's like not that interesting for him. So he's like, dude, always wanted to work together. Him and I have been friends for a long time. He's like, all right, why don't we I'll keep 20. He doesn't do much. He gets 20%. This thing has grown to like, now it makes, 5 to 7K in the off season. We'll see how well it does during the season this year. I think it'll do like 10 to 12K awesome. At least. Yeah. Yeah. So now it's working out for him, right? He just gets cash flow for doing nothing. So not a bad move on his part.
And working with you is just like giving opinions.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like us working together is just fun. Like, we've been friends for a long time. He came to my wedding. I went to his wedding. Actually, I don't know if he came to my wedding, but I went to his wedding. And, there's people just like, you're like, I just want to work with some of my friends and like do some type of business thing. So like, yeah, we just get to like chat every week. So he started this blog. He knows it really well. He knows the space. And so like, he gives really good ideas, because I don't really I played the sport a little bit back in the day, but I don't anymore. So he just gives like good ideas and like advises on some fun stuff that I can run with to grow the thing.
And the sport being water polo, right?
Yeah, water polo. Very, very, very popular sport. Very easy to make 5, 7K in the off season on water polo. So that was site 2, and I worked on that like, 80, 90% of my time, my side hustle time on this site, and then 4 months ago, now that this site is like made like 60K in revenue last year, we spent a lot on content, probably like 35K total for like content and links last year. I'm like, man, let's reinvest some of this into a new site. So like 3-4 months ago, I started a new site and have already spent that like 5K.
Whatever happened to this first site?
Oh yeah. So the first site now, that thing is like, I have a VA in place. I basically we launch like 4 or 5 new articles a month. It takes me like 2 hours total of my time to do a little keyword research and create briefs. And then I have a VA who, once the draft is created by the writer, goes and uploads it to WordPress. I just do a quick final review and publish it. So and that site makes probably $900 to $1,000 a month right now. It takes 2 hours of my time. It's growing slowly. I'm just kind of have it in the background. It's like just a nice little slow grower, doesn't take up too much of my time, and just, brings in $1,000 a month. That's cool with me.
So it was an interesting one to start with, but didn't have traction. So that was more interesting about the second one.
Yes.
And the third one you're starting, and it sounds like is your strategic one. Like now you started some sites, you're like, I want to do this.
Yeah, it's like I've taken my learnings from 1 and 2 to number 3. And I'll tell you what the latest site is. It's a parenting site. I won't reveal the URL just yet. I mean, it's not getting any traffic yet. I think we had a record week last week, 60 page views.
Yeah.
On the up and up. But yeah, that's a new site. It's a parenting site. Wife and I have 2 kids. This is like, for me, if you go back and you watch our episode on like 7 things we look for in a niche site, it checks all the boxes. Like,
so lucrative. Oh my God. The mommy bloggers, what they make. Perhaps rivaled by only a few niches like grilling and stuff. Now, if you were grilling babies, that would blow up.
Say what?
the market for grilling with your baby, not like actually grilling babies, you sicko.
Oh, cool. Go. No doubt.
Right. Yeah, it was just a Freudian slip.
Okay, well, we know how much fun you had with your kids this weekend. So people spend a lot of money. It's funny. I've seen people like talk about mommy blogs and stuff on Twitter. They're like, no way I'd touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like, and I get it, because mommy blogs, they're really passionate groups of people, right? I'm taking the other stance. I'm like, I'm willing to bet most mommy bloggers are just creating content because they think it's interesting. I'm like taking an SEO driven approach to it. We'll see. Like, can I beat mommy bloggers at SEO? Plus my wife is a registered nurse. She works in labor and delivery. So I've got she can feed me ideas and stuff. I'm hoping one day it grows and she can stop being a nurse and work on the site and grow it. I think it has some cool potential for the future. But anyway,
serious
side note
author
there.
Schema potential right there.
Yeah, that's
reviewed by, written by.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some actual eat right there, baby. Google, come after me. What up? So that's the backstory. So you can kind of see, I guess, what's the takeaway there? You and I have kind of you've taken a little bit more of a methodical approach where you grow something pretty big before you've moved on to the next thing, right? Versus I'm going to do 5 and see which ones kind of hit. I've kind of taken more of the approach of I'm going to do a couple and see which ones do well and focus on those.
I think when I was doing, the next site, and then we had a lot of smaller sites that we kind of jettisoned. I had this thought that we were diversifying by having more sites. Having now done this for a while, I've learned that that's not diversify. If you're reliant on Google, your business is essentially Google arbitrage. Free traffic in one side, hopefully, $1 a view, $1,000 views, whatever on the other side. I don't know if you're diversifying that way. That's why we did Lasso, because, the podcast had 26 million downloads. Cool. I didn't even get a medal for that or anything. And, all those people, they kind of went through the door on one side, left on the other, and so long.
You're talking about Listen Money
miss
Matters.
You guys. Yeah. Whereas at least with Lasso, we get someone to come in and try us. The team spins up. We help them. And now the name of the game is we just can't lose that person. So we pour our love in. And so if Google stopped giving us people, we just have to make our customers not hate us. We still have a business.
Yeah. I hear you. You're right. It's if your business is relying on Google, multiple sites, I think you are shielded in a way though, right? I've seen it a bunch. Every Google rollout doesn't roll out the same across industries and sites. Some sites may go up, some other sites may go down. I mean, I've said it, I'm completely relying on Google for all of my traffic. I'm not really into diversifying yet. I mean, I don't know. We can talk about this on a different episode. I'm kind of just I think a lot of people are kind of spreading themselves thin by saying, all right, let me go figure out social and email and all this stuff. And really at the end of the day, they're just going to be mediocre at like 4 channels versus like, man, I know Google, my knowledge compounds. Yes, I take hits and licks along the way, but at least that it compounds and I'm just going to like keep focusing on that and rolling with the punches and, anyway.
Let me clarify a bit better because I don't think like Google or Google traffic is going away or like good things will stop being rewarded. But I think what probably happens more often is the tactics that work with one or your approach winds up being replicated. And so it's not like you have 3 sites, 3 completely different forms of attack, and the way you're doing it, it's almost like it's like a split personality disorder. And so when one of your sites starts failing, because you're the one driving the strategy across all of them, they all kind of have the same weakness,
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Someone usually finds like you find keyword styles and clusters that work and you go and map that other places. You're right. But I have sites that like I kind of do focus on different strategies. For like the best site, I'm mainly focused on, I do both. I do affiliate content and like guides. The one I told you, the first site I started that's doing like 1,000 a month. Now I'm kind of really just going towards affiliate because the RPMs aren't that high on info content. Like it's just not. And YouTube dominates a lot of those, a lot of the like how-tos and things like that. So, you're right. It probably a lot of people do kind of follow that strategy, but I don't think that's necessarily the case, especially if you like try different sites in different areas. You'll see things that work and you lean into those, and I don't know.
I think YouTube could be considered, we're talking about like sites, but maybe it's channels where your domain is a channel and, your YouTube channel is a channel.
Yeah.
We don't really know what we're doing. And in the first month, it was like 20 something thousand impressions. So like, that's something. Maybe, so then if you kind of stack them on top of each other, you take your parenting niche or your water polo niche, the one with the horses, and you do videos with that.
Yes. Water polo. That's right.
Perhaps
That's right.
like,
horses swimming in pools. That's right.
Yeah. That's why I was worried the off season. Like, I guess it's at the Y. I don't even know how they clean that up. So, having 3,
yeah.
Do you feel like you're spread thin? Do you feel like any of your sites are getting the love that they need?
Yeah. So this is the most important question of like, I think this episode. So right now I focus 80% of my time on the main moneymaker. The other sites, they just get what's left over. Like they become less of a priority. And I just, it's Pareto principle, 80-20, 80% is going to the winner. 20% is going on like new projects or small projects is kind of how I focus on it now. But I think there is something to be said. And I'm sure you see this with Lasso customers, dude. Like the people who work on one site and take more of the brand approach and are like really trying to build this thing out to not just be reliant on Google. I think if that's your strategy, one site is the way to go. And you probably see it. Like some of the biggest sites, the owners, are they focusing on one site? Or are they focusing on multiple? Like, what do you see?
There are 3 distinct camps. There's like the PE, private equity guys.
Yeah.
There are very few of them. Everyone probably knows a lot of them. And they do like 40, 50. One of our customers is 150 plus sites. Rare birds. That's like almost its own story. Then you have the people, like you said, that go really deep and they almost make it a brand, like Retro Dojo. I'm super fan. I don't even think I've been to his domain more than the one time. Just the approach, the way he thinks about it. I really like that.
Yeah.
And then there's like a lot of people just kind of like go wide. We don't have so when you exclude the PE people that have funding, none of the people with many sites have large sites. It's like, I would actually say like there may be one, it's so not that they're not big. They get 20, 30, maybe 50,000 page views, but the people with huge sites, they have like one or two massive ones, then another one that they maybe acquired and are building up, but they clearly have ridiculous resources from the at least one successful one. And I think it's just to be able to like think about one thing for so long, you wind up, it's I think they call it like the idea maze. And you just kind of like worked your way through the maze, you know where you're going. You're just operating on a level that no one else is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think like I catch myself too. And now because I've really said like, this is my main site. This is the one I want to focus on the most. The other ones, like, they don't get really good ideas. The main site is like when I'm showering, the shower thoughts come to that one. And it's like the one I'm like really trying to put most of my resources in. I guess the reason I branch out into other sites is because like I'm just, going back to that point of I lean in so heavily on Google and SEO is the game I'm playing. I'm not really trying to build brands, that I'm hedging my bets a little bit. And I'm saying like, okay, what are some other long-term sites that I could work on for 3 to 5 years in case this one just, gets smashed 50% plus in a Google update. But I honestly think the best thing to do is like focus on one. Like, you're a good example too, right? Like you focus on Listen Money Matters. You guys built a brand around it. You built a podcast. Like it was attached to your name. It had the site. Like that's all you focus on. I think that's what allowed you to grow it as big as you did. I think there's something you said about that.
I think at a certain size, like personal finance, obviously competitive. Take, Retro Dojo. I don't know, but if it's like as competitive or to the depths of whatever, but I think at a certain size, it just is competitive. And he winds up, or maybe he was competing in like some smaller space, but at his size, he's now competing with like real publishing entities.
Right.
And they're probably also looking at him. And if he was putting like 60% of his time to that, granted the publishing entities are slow, they're just going to eat him. Like he has to put his time in, to win,
Yeah. Yeah. And he's
now that you've put all this time in, if it dies, like that's an even bigger loss.
Right. He's a great example. I mean, his site's amazing. Like he's taking a true, like, this is the brand approach. And like, I think he's doing an awesome job. Good example there. So yeah, let's kind of wrap this one up with like, if we were starting all over, or not even all over, like what are you doing now? Like, what do you focus on? Like, how are you going forward now that you know what you know?
I think I would do one, and what I would do differently is I would try and imagine at least a direction that a product or service could go in as like a sidecar. And I think if you were to split your focus, it's like the marketing growth end of the business, and then it's like the product end. And the product could be a course, it could be your services personally, a book. I think it's Brandon from Retro Dojo. He's making, is it Brandon?
Yeah. Salsa La Macchia.
He's making this like beautiful illustrated book, to sell. And so it's like not SaaS, not an agency, but still something, I'm sure he'll do well with that. I think if you can have that kind of like dual engine approach, I feel like that's the winner. I would do that. And I would probably, if I was to do this again, completely avoid anything remotely close to the SEO space. I'd go to I'd compete with Epic Gardening. I think that is more the speed that I want to be working in.
Yeah. I agree. If you're trying to like build a brand, I would not be working on multiple brands at the same time. Speaking my own book, again, because I'm just like, man, I know SEO. I don't really want to like figure out how to be really good at email and newsletters and social and all this stuff. And, I've done demand generation inside of companies, and I see what happened. Like, I've been spread across so many channels, and I see what happens. Like you just kind of it's hard to be really good at all of them unless you hire and like you make someone the domain of that thing, like the owner of that thing. So just like the kind of business I want where it's like me and some contractors and I just focus heavily on SEO. I think having one site, here's what I would do. I would focus on one site till I get that thing to 10K plus a month. Then I would start diversifying out. I think like you need time to get like one site really kicking and then diversify out.
I would absolutely agree. I'd also say that we have no employees, myself included, although actually I'm technically an employee of Listen Money Matters. So contractors, they could start part-time, and those people, you could bring on an email person and just have them, they write the autoresponder, automate it, whatever. You look, read, give your opinion. You don't need to be an expert at it.
Right.
I've been doing it for a decade, not an expert at it.
Yeah, that's true. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, let us know. I'm very curious what other people are doing. Are you doing one site, trying to go to that? Do you have multiple sites? What's your strategy? Let us know in the comments. Thank you
with us.
Yeah, like, are we wrong? Tell us we're wrong. Like, give us your examples. You don't have to tell us the site, but
off that.
Yeah, tell us we're stupid and why. I want to know. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, subscribe so you get notifications on future ones. Follow me at Emil Shore on Twitter, and for Andrew at Andy Phoebe. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Later, Andrew.
Later, man.
We're seeking profit. We're seeking profit. We're seeking profit. We're seeking profit.